Hi everyone, Aaron here for Zollotech, and watchOS 10 Beta 8 released yesterday to developers, and today Apple released watchOS 10 Public Beta 6. So these are available to developers and public beta testers only. We'll talk about when to expect the final version to the public a little bit later. Now, along with this, Apple also released a bunch of other updates. iOS 17 Beta 8, iPadOS 17 Beta 8, tvOS and HomePodOS 17 Beta 8, and then today they finally released macOS 14 Beta 7. Now, as you can see, this isn't a very large update at 216 megabytes on my Apple Watch Ultra, and this update does add a couple different changes and updates. Now, if we go into our settings on our Apple Watch, let's take a look at the build number. And if we go into settings, then we go to General, then we go to About, you'll see the version is 10.0 and the build number is 21R5355A. We should be getting very close to a final release, and again, we'll talk about that in just a moment. So this particular build is of course going to fix a bunch of things, add refinement, and the new features, one of them seems to have changed, at least on the software update page on the Apple Watch with the iPhone. So if we go into the watch, go to General, then Software Update, give it just a moment, and some of the wording appears to have changed, where it says your Apple Watch is up to date with all the latest bug fixes and security enhancements. Now, also, we're not seeing a ton of other changes with the name drop and airdrop. It's been in the code for quite some time, where we should be able to bring our phone over the top of the watch and then name drop our contact to it. So far, this isn't there. It's still technically in the code, and I've shown you what it looks like on X here, where the animation actually shows you bringing your iPhone over the watch and then it name dropping, or you can do the same from watch to watch. Again, this is not yet in this update, so hopefully they'll release it very, very soon, maybe with the next update. Also, it appears that they keep updating the watch faces, specifically the Snoopy watch face. If we go into that watch face, you'll see this one seems to be the same. Let's go ahead and go in. I saw at least a couple new ones. So again, let's stop this, turn this back on here. And I saw at least a couple new ones. This one's an old one. Let's see if we can get a new one showing up. And not too much of a difference there. We'll go ahead and try again. And that one looks a little bit different. I don't know if I've seen that one, but there's so many different changes and updates with this. Lots of different ones. So it keeps activating Siri for some reason. And again, let's try it again. Lots of different ones. So as you keep going through this, again, I haven't seen my favorite one where there's a wave. He's on a surfboard on a wave. That one seems to be new. I don't recall seeing that. But again, there's so many different changes and updates with this. We saw that one before, that there's quite a few different ones all throughout. And you just get them randomly showing up. So again, we saw this one earlier. Go back in. We can see some changes here. So lots of updates with that. How many there are specifically, I'm not sure. Maybe 20, maybe 30. I'll have to actually write those down and see what there is specifically. As far as other things, well, I haven't noticed any issues with the watch faces. That was a little stuttery there, but I haven't noticed any difference with the palette watch face, any of the different colors or anything like that. And I also haven't noticed any difference with the Wayfinder watch face. One thing I do wish they'd bring back is where you can just turn the digital crown and have it go into night mode, but it looks like they've removed that and it's just working based off of your overall ambient light, or it seems to be more on a schedule based off of time. And so not really seeing a whole lot of changes there. As far as the release notes, there's quite a few of those in this update. So if we go over to feedback, go to recent activity, and then go to our watchOS 10 Beta 8 release notes, there's a lot of different updates in here. Specifically, there's 4 categories of known issues, and a good note is there's 42 categories of resolved issues. So lots of things have been fixed in this update. You'll see here with the complication picker, they fixed an issue where the complication picker no longer shows entries for uninstalled system apps. And if we go through this, you'll see there's pages and pages of features that have been resolved or issues that have been resolved, fixed a crash with certain combinations of chart content, and much, much more. So Apple's really been working hard on this with iOS 17 and much more. It's great to see things being resolved. Of course, there's still a ways to go, but for the most part, the watchOS betas seem to be very stable, just like they were last year with last year's version of watchOS. This year, it seems to be about the same. watchOS 9 and 10 are pretty good. And when it comes to the watch itself, with overall performance, I really haven't noticed a difference other than occasional lag switching between watch faces. So when you kind of press and hold to go out, that's really the only slowdown I see. If I scroll up, you'll see it's nice and fast. If I go into the control center, again, nice and fast. Now, as far as overall battery life, if we go into our control center, you'll see I'm at 74%. Now, this has not been off the charger terribly long, maybe 5 or 6 hours. So we'll go into the battery and you'll see here, if we go into our settings, we'll take a look at battery health and also when it was last charged. So we'll go down to settings, go over to battery here, and again, scroll down, and there's battery. So within battery, give it a second to load. You'll see it was last charged at 9:41 p.m. is what it says, and apparently I left it overnight. So standby seems to have been pretty good. I didn't put it on the charger last night. I thought I did, but I guess I didn't, and I've actually been using it during the day. So it's doing pretty well, and if we scroll down, you'll see battery health is still probably at 100%. So the watch has been doing very well this way as far as battery life goes. Now, as far as when to expect the next beta, well, at this point, I'm not sure we're going to get another beta. It could be a release candidate. It's possible we could have a beta 9, and if that's the case, we would have it next week, usually around Tuesday. However, since we know that the Apple event is taking place on the 12th now, that's where we'll see the next Apple Watch and iPhone with iPhone 15, 15 Pro, Pro Max. The watch is expected to get Apple Watch Series 9 and Apple Watch Ultra 2. We'll get those on the 12th, at least introduced. Usually after that event, we'll have the next RC version of the operating system. So what that means, iOS 17 RC, watchOS 10 RC, it's the final version that's released to developers and beta testers that should be the public version if there's no additional issues. So if they release that on the 12th, like they normally do, we can expect pre-orders for the next Apple Watch on the 15th, along with the iPhones. Then usually the following Monday is when we get them released to the public as far as operating systems. So watchOS 10 could come out on the 18th, with the new watches coming out on the 22nd. Now, this is all up in the air until Apple makes it official, but that's usually what we see year after year. So that seems to make the most sense. And also, if you're wondering if you should try out or install watchOS 10 Beta 8 at this point or Public Beta 6, if you want to, you probably are pretty safe to do that. Once the final version comes out, you'll just install those updates like normal, or if the RC is the final version, you'll just already have it early. So you can try it out now, but just be aware that if you have problems, you cannot downgrade without bringing it to Apple. It's not like an iPhone where you can use a computer to do that. So you definitely could if you want to, but I think it's stable enough to try out. For the most part, most people say they really don't have many issues with it. Everything's fast and smooth, loads as you would expect. It's a little bit different experience getting used to the control center and how everything works when you scroll, but I think it's pretty nice overall. Now, as far as anything else, that's pretty much it for watchOS 10. I think we're feature complete at this point, and we're just waiting for all the other bugs and issues to be resolved that they find with testing, with beta testing, and more. So make sure you're reporting those in feedback if you're having those issues. And so that's everything with watchOS 10 Beta 8. Not a huge update, but more of a refinement as we get closer to a final release. I'll link this wallpaper in the description like I normally do, and if you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe, and if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like. As always, thanks for watching. This is Aaron. I'll see you next time.